Mill Sky, has someone ever tried to get you fired for a dumb reason? Well, buckle down. I mean, there's been a few times where somebody has tried to get me fired. I mean, in my opinion, I think all of them were for dumb reasons, but you guys can be the judge of that. So the first time that somebody tried to get me fired while I was working was when I was a young lad and I was working at the old Subway. It was basically like my third week in, and I had a customer come in that was giving me major attitude. He needed 3 different sandwiches and I was all alone, and he was already pretty ticked off from the fact that I was working alone. I guess he didn't want to wait for his 3 sandwiches, but you know, whatever. We're just gonna move on from that. I'm going through making all of his sandwiches, and on the second sandwich, he asked for it toasted, and when I put it into the toaster oven, the man must have had like a meltdown. I knew for a fact that I asked him if he wanted it toasted, but he claimed that I never even asked him, and I just threw it into the toaster oven, and I was like, you know, it's okay. I'm just gonna make you a new sandwich. And the man must have been like on the biggest rush of his life because he couldn't wait another second, and he basically told me that he's gonna leave and he's not paying for any of the sandwiches. And you know, that's when I kind of got a little upset. It is my parents' sandwich shop, and I know that I shouldn't have any emotions while working, but it feels like just because the guy couldn't wait an extra 3 minutes that he had to take his anger out on us, and my parents are the ones that are gonna have to pay for it. So I basically said something along the lines of like, why are you just gonna come to a Subway and buy a sandwich if you're not gonna even, you know, take the sandwich home and eat it or even pay for it? Like, what was the point? And yo, this comment made him snap. I knew in my mind that I should have said nothing at all, but it was as if it was like a literal scene out of a movie. He like turns his head 180 degrees, looks me dead in the eyes, and says something along the lines of like,
I can't believe that you would ever even say that to me. I've never witnessed somebody so disrespectful in the fast food industry in my entire life.
And I'm like, whoa, in your entire life? That must be a long time, huh? But I basically like knew that I fluffed up. I mean, I had no intentions of even like upsetting the man. I just kind of wanted to say what was on my mind. And in this moment, as a young lad named Milad, I realized I will never even acknowledge any negativity from a customer again. Well, that man went home and he actually filed a report to my parents about how I should be fired. He was basically like demanding them to fire me. And my mom was basically like, what'd you do? And I explained the situation to her, and my mom was like, welcome to your first real life experience with people. And from that moment on, I guess I just kind of lived my life and worked at Subway. Could you imagine if I got fired from that? My life would be so substantially different to this day. If you enjoyed this story and made it to the end, please be sure to subscribe and like the video. I love you lads. Have a beautiful and blessed day. Peace. Milan, has there ever been a customer that brought a sandwich in and came back a few days later when it's kind of moldy and demanded a refund? This is such an oddly specific question that I have such an oddly specific answer for. So something similar to this has happened before. The customer sure as heck didn't bring back a moldy sandwich a few days later, but I did have a customer that came back a few days later demanding a refund. So basically the story went like this. One of my coworkers made a sandwich for a customer that came in a few days prior, and apparently according to my coworker, the customer was giving her such a huge attitude. Like a huge attitude. Like she was literally nitpicking the sandwich as she was making it and telling her that like she was making a terrible sandwich. And so she gave the store a phone call like the next day, and I actually talked to her through this, and she was not happy with the customer experience, and I was kind of saying like, I understand like your worries, I'm sorry that this happened, I can offer you like a free sandwich the next time you come in, which I did. And then she shows up the next day with her receipt thinking that she's gonna get a free sandwich and she's gonna get her sandwich refunded, and I like talked her through it. I was like, was there anything wrong with the sandwich? And she like literally said nope, nothing was wrong with it. She was like, I just didn't enjoy the customer service. And I was like, ma'am, I can't really give you a refund if there was nothing at all wrong with the sandwich. And like in my head I'm thinking like, what the heck is going on? Like at the end of the day, this is a business, and like you got your product and we're willing to go above and beyond for the service, and like you're literally just trying to fool us. Like you want a free sandwich and you want us to refund you for something that you've already eaten? Like how does that make any sense? And she just kept demanding. She was like, no, like you guys will give me a refund or I'm gonna go to corporate about this. And I was like, you know, you can go to corporate. Like I think they're gonna tell you the same exact thing, but like you can go for it. And I'm pretty sure like in a last ditch effort she said that there was a hair in her sandwich, and I was like, oh, here we go, the classic hair in a sandwich card. And I was like, do you have a picture of the hair in the sandwich? And she goes, no. And I was just kind of like, then we can't really prove in any way that there was a hair in the sandwich. Like I just didn't know what to do at the time, and I was like 19 years old, so it was kind of like a weird situation. And then in the end she's like, oh fine, I'll just take my free sandwich and go. And I was like, okay, this is what we were supposed to do from the beginning, but okay. And I made her free sandwich and she left, and I never seen her since. And you know, I'm kind of glad that I've never seen her since. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and like the video. Have a beautiful and blessed day, lads. Peace. I feel like there's this awkward moment in every single fast food or just regular food worker's life where they're asked, can I get the usual? And they look straight into the eyes of the customer and say, who on earth are you? But nobody's actually going to say, who on earth are you? I mean, that would be kind of rude if I'm being honest. But you know, this used to happen to me all the time when I first started working at Subway. I would consider myself a pretty outgoing guy, and one of the perks of being an outgoing person is you get to talk to people every single day, and especially at Subway, you get to talk to like 30 people within 2 or 3 hours. And well, I think that the fact that I talk to these people makes them believe that I have their sandwich to a T memorized. And this doesn't go for everybody. Obviously, there are people that come in and just order their sandwich regularly, but every now and then I would have this person come in and just simply say to me, let me get the usual, buddy. And I would look at this man and be like, I have never seen this person in my life. How am I going to remember what the usual is if I don't even remember you ever walking into the store. And so one afternoon when this happened, a customer came into the store that I had never seen before in my entire life. And he said, "Can I get the usual?" And this was one of the first times this has ever happened to me. So in my mind, I'm going through these two different thought patterns. One, do I try to guess what this person's order is and just be completely wrong and embarrass myself? Or two, should I just simply say to this man, "I have no idea who you are. I'm really sorry, sir, but please just tell me what your sandwich is so that I can understand exactly what you want." And for some reason, my peewee brain decided to go with the first option, and I started to completely guess what this person's order was. I thought in my mind that I had an idea of what they ordered before, but in reality, I had no idea who this person was. So I go to put the bread onto the line, and I quickly realize, wow, I've gotten myself into quite the predicament, because the customer isn't even in front of me anymore. They're literally across the subway on their phone, and I'm standing here with a loaf of bread thinking to myself, what on earth has this person gotten in the past? And well, after about 30 seconds of cutting the bread, the slowest 30 seconds I've ever experienced in my life, I decided to speak up for myself. And while I said, "Sir, I'm sorry, I have no idea what you ordered," and the man takes one look at me, takes his sunglasses down from his eyes, and says to me, "Why didn't you tell me that 2 minutes ago?" And in those couple of simple words, the man simply defeated me. Comment what you think that man ordered and subscribe. Milad, have you ever had any encounters with cops? One of the craziest stories that I've ever experienced in my life was right after I got my driver's license. There was a night where I was home alone, and I had literally just got my license and was going out and hanging out with my friends and just having a great night. And all of a sudden, my mom called me and told me that the person that was working at the store didn't have the key. In case you don't know, whenever you're closing a restaurant, you have to lock it up with a key, and I guess the person who was working just forgot their key at home or something. Can't blame them. It happens to me all the time. But for some reason, I wasn't happy because I really wanted to hang out with my friends, so I decided it would be a great idea to rush home. And well, I started driving home and I was booking it. I'm not a fast driver at all. I gotta say, like, I'm probably one of the slowest drivers. My friends tell me that all the time. But I just got my license and I thought I was like speed racer or something. So I decided to go on my road. And my road is a 25-mile-per-hour road. And I had to rush home to get my keys. So I was going 71 miles per hour apparently on my road. That's what the officer said he saw me at, but I was pretty sure I was going like 50 miles per hour. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I was going way too fast on my road. And as I'm pulling into my driveway, the cop pulls into my driveway as well, and I didn't know who it was. I assumed it was like one of my friends because it was like pitch black out and I couldn't see anything. So I get out of the car and immediately the officer screams at the top of his lungs, "Get back in the car!" And at this point, I'm shook. I'm just standing there in front of my house, in front of my car, and this officer is sitting in the driveway with his hand on his holster, screaming at me to get back into the car. And so I do. And the officer comes up to my window, and we're literally parked right outside of my house, like in my driveway. And he says to me, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And immediately in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I messed up. And I was like, "I'm so sorry, officer." Like, I knew I messed up. I was kind of just ready to take whatever fate would have it. And so he goes, "License and registration and proof of insurance, please." And I get my registration, I get my proof of insurance, and I realize I don't have my license. And my heart just dropped. I'm like, as if this isn't bad enough, my license is literally not here. And so I tell the officer, I'm like, "Sir, I'm so sorry. My license is literally inside." And I'm like freaking out at this point because I'm like, I'm worried I'm going to go to jail or something. Like, I'd never gotten pulled over at that point and I did something extremely stupid. And so the officer like takes one good look at me and he just sighs and he's like, "Do you have your phone?" And I go, "Yeah, I have my phone." What a weird question. And he goes, "Take out your phone." I'm like, "Okay." And so I take out my phone and he says, "Call your mom." And at this point, I'm like, oh my God, just take me to jail. Like, oh no. But I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to do this, or else he's probably literally going to take me to jail. And so I get my mom on the phone and I'm like shaking as I'm speaking to my mom. And he goes, "Here, give me your phone." And he basically says, "This is Officer so-and-so from so-and-so. And I caught your son doing 71 miles per hour on your road in a 25-mile-per-hour zone." But in this moment, I felt awful. And so the officer gives me the phone back and he's like, "Talk to your mom." And so I talked to her and my mom was like, "I'm going to kick your butt when I get home." And in my mind, I'm just like, wow, I have messed up so catastrophic. But the officer goes to me, "Son, you are so lucky," because he had just gotten off of his shift and he told me that he was ready to write me a ticket with the books on it, but he let me go. And in that moment, I'm like, wow, how is this even possible? But wait, it gets pretty awful. So he lets me go, right? And I go and I give the key to my coworker. They lock up the subway and I'm headed back to my friend's house. And as if I didn't learn my lesson already, I'm on a road that I thought was a 40. Apparently it was a 25. I don't want to call this road a speed trap. It was a speed trap. And I get pulled over again on the same night. Literally 20 minutes after this had just happened. I was going 39 in a 25. And at this point, I'm just done. Like, I don't even know what to do. Luckily, I had my license and that officer gave me a ticket. And well, when I told my mom about that, let's just say I got the butt kicking of a century. Milkoldion, have you ever banned someone from your Subway? In my 6 years of working at Subway, I've only ever banned 2 people in total. The first one was a man that stole my tips, and I've already told that story before on this channel. And the second one actually wasn't too long ago. So as I was growing on TikTok and YouTube, there was this weird thing where a lot of people that would come into the Subway were previous franchise owners at Subway. So there were these people that essentially used to own Subway stores, but unfortunately they went out of business because a lot of Subway stores in the past few years have gone out of business. And I'd say 99% of the people that come in are actually extremely nice, and they're usually just very congratulatory and very supportive of what I'm doing. But one day when I was at the Subway after a very, very busy rush, I had a customer come into the store and he wanted something like 3 sandwiches. And well, because I just had a rush, my entire line was basically empty. And so when he came to the front, he immediately said something along the lines of like, wow, everything here is empty. And I go, I know, I could just fill it up as we're going along. Sorry about that. Like, I had a rush before. And mind you, this was at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it wasn't like anybody else was in the store. It was literally just me and him alone. And well, my girlfriend was in the back of the store too, and she watched this entire thing go down. And basically, he started to berate me about how everything's empty. The first line I heard from him was, I used to own a Subway, so I know how this goes. Whoever your boss is, they should really keep an eye on you because it doesn't look good for business if your line is empty. And I'm like, whoa. Immediately, I'm thrown off by this because like, this guy's kind of just telling me how to do my job. But I figured nothing of it, and I was like, yeah, I understand. I'm really sorry about that. And then once we got to the vegetable part of the sandwich, basically a lot of the veggies were empty and I had to fill them up. And for some reason, this like made him furious. He was like, I used to own 4 Subway stores and never once would we have our empty veggie line. Basically, he was telling me like I was doing an awful job, and for once, I kind of just wasn't taking it. I was like, dude, have you ever worked a fast food job? You say that you've owned 4 Subways before, but clearly if you've never experienced something as simple as an empty veggie line, maybe you weren't involved in that business as much as you like to think you were. Because this is something that happens like every single day at Subway, and every single one of our customers has zero problem with me just going to the back and filling up our veggies. And so he basically got every single veggie on these 3 sandwiches, and when I say every single one, I mean all the veggies on the line he basically wanted. And you know, I guess he was just sick of it because he started to actually scream at me. And I don't really remember this much because it was a complete blur, so here's my girlfriend explaining it.
I got so scared that I started recording this crazy man, and we have a video on it, but I don't think we're allowed to share it. He definitely needed a free cookie.
He was very scary. And well, basically at the end when I rang him up, I said something along the lines to him as, please don't ever come back to this store, because if you treat me like this, I can only imagine how my poor coworkers would have to deal with you. And on his way out, he basically told me to go F myself, and I was like, whatever. I don't think I've ever experienced someone as crazy as that guy, and if he actually did own a couple franchise stores, I feel bad for whoever his employees were. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. Maloosh, what happens when someone's a penny short? So this situation has actually happened more times than I can even count. I'll be making somebody's sandwich and we get to the register and they'll have like $9.79 when the total was something like $9.80. And this has actually happened to me before. Well, I'll tell that story at the end. But if a customer comes in and they're a penny short, well, there's a few things that we could do to alleviate this pain. The first thing that we could do is just let them go, but nobody likes that. That's no fun, right? So the best thing that we could do is literally just take apart whatever they made and put it back into the bins. And the next best thing that we could do is I'll just hand them a mop and they can start mopping the floor for that extra penny. Nah, I'm just completely kidding. I put out a couple shorts about that a few weeks ago and people took it really seriously and got really offended. I was just kind of like, oh man, it's a joke. I'm sorry. But in all seriousness, if somebody's a penny short, we're going to let them go. But once you start getting into like being 10 cents short, 25 cents short, 50 cents short, even $1, well, usually we will still let them go. But if they have something like a bag of chips or like a drink, you know, sometimes I'm going to be honest, I'll be like, you can just put this back or you can come back and pay tomorrow. And one time I asked somebody that was basically $1 short for them to put back the cookie so that they have enough, and he did not seem too happy with me at all. This was somebody that I'd never seen in the store before, and I just kind of said it because I think I was having a rough day or something. Usually I'll let them slide. You all know the free cookie rule. But after I said for him to put back the cookie, he was basically like, you know what? I don't want Subway anymore. And then he walked out and didn't pay for any of the stuff that he bought and didn't take it. After that, I learned my lesson to never ever hassle somebody over $1 again. It's a hard lesson to learn. But if they're a regular customer, every single time we're going to be like, yo, just come back and pay for that whenever you come back to the store, because you never want to upset your customers. I think that's the biggest issue with a lot of franchise people. Like, they'll be such sticklers over a couple cents when in reality that customer is priceless. You have to appease yourself to the customer, but you don't have to break your back. It's just the little things, right? The nice acts, those always prevail. But one time I went to a Dunkin' Donuts and I bought a coffee, and I was with one of my friends and I was 1 penny short for the coffee, and I asked him if he would just let me slide with the penny because I had like $4 and the coffee was literally $4.01, and the dude said no. He pointed to the ATM right next to me and he said, you can go take take money out of that ATM. I was shocked in this moment. I don't think I was being a bad customer at all. And this dude basically just told me to go take money out so I could pay this 1 cent. I was looking at his tip jar and I saw a couple pennies in there. I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about reaching in and just grabbing a penny and calling it a day. But what I ended up doing was going and saying, oh, I'll just get the penny from my car. And luckily, I did have a penny in my car and I paid for it. And well, I never came back to that Dunkin' Donuts ever again in my life. Like the video and subscribe to my channel, please and thank you, and have a beautiful and blessed day. Michelin, have you ever found yourself in a really super awkward situation with one of your customers? Awkward situations happen just about every single day when you're working in fast food. And I'm going to tell you about 3 of the most awkward situations that I've ever experienced while working at Subway. And the last one, well, it might just be so awkward that you're literally going to fall out of your chair. So first and foremost, one of the most awkward things that can ever happen as a sandwich artist is when I literally drop a customer sandwich. Everything will be going perfectly fine, and then out of nowhere, as I'm trying to transport it to the toaster oven, well, that sandwich will completely just drop to the floor, and I'll look right at the customer, look back at that sad sandwich on the floor, and then look back at the customer and just see the face of horror. And this has happened to me while I've had a line and being by myself. And in all honesty, I'm just standing there waiting for the customers to start booing me. But most of the times, the customers are super nice and understanding about it. But let's be real, when you mess up with something like a sandwich that somebody wants to eat right away, the person you're making for is probably going to be pretty upset, and it's a little embarrassing. The second is when I have a customer who I'm about to ring up, and this actually happened to me 2 weeks ago. I'll get through making their entire order, and then we get to the register, and either one of 2 things will happen. One, they'll start swiping their credit cards and they'll just all be getting declined. Thank goodness this hasn't happened in a long time, and when this did happen to me, I wanted to just let the person go and pay for their sandwich myself, and I actually did do that once. But the most recent time, I had somebody come into the store and all they wanted was 3 cookies, and when I went to tell them their total, they seemed to have been looking through their bag very intentionally for like 3 minutes, and the customers were just staring at us, and it became pretty clear to me that this person just didn't have money to pay for the cookies. So to avoid other customers getting upset with me just standing there, and for this person to, you know, just kind of be embarrassed by the fact they didn't have a couple dollars to pay for the cookies, I let them just go with the cookies and let them enjoy it. I know that if I was in that situation, I would really appreciate somebody doing that for me. And the most embarrassing thing that happens at Subway is when 2 customers start fighting with each other. Now, you'd be shocked. You'd imagine that this probably doesn't ever happen because customers never talk to each other in the store. But you would be extremely shocked because for some customers, well, sometimes they'll be on high alert. And one unique thing about Subway and somewhere like Chipotle is that you have to stand next to each other in a line in order to get your food prepared. And well, this time these 2 customers were standing a little too close to each other, and the woman kind of just freaked. She was like, yo, you're all up in my business, you gotta back up. And the man was kind of like, whoa, I don't know why you're giving me an attitude about something like this. And they just started going back and forth, and I was standing there like, ma'am, do you want pickles on your sandwich? Moments like that are so embarrassing that it quite literally hurts. If you enjoy my videos, please consider liking this video and subscribing. It helps me out a ton, and have a beautiful and blessed day. Mope, have you ever left during the middle of a shift? So personally, I've had a few times where I haven't felt the best in the middle of a shift, so I would call one of my coworkers to come and just completely cover for the rest of the day. But there was this one time where I literally had a coworker quit in the middle of a shift I had with him. And there's quite the twist at the end of this video, so stick around, you don't want to miss it. I was opening up that day, so I was making the bread, making the cookies, preparing the line. I had a pretty busy morning because whoever was closing the night before literally didn't do anything. So I was already kind of stressed, but it's a job at Subway. How stressful can it be, you know? And usually when 12 o'clock rolls around, all the customers in the world will just come through that door. And today, well, it was 12:05 and I was sitting there all by myself, which doesn't usually happen. You always have a coworker there whenever you're about to start your lunch rush. And so I was just kind of like, what's going on? So I called my coworker up and I'm like, hey, are you coming to the store? He's like, yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes, whatever. This is somebody that's never late, literally never late. And he was running late today, and I was like, of all the days, huh? But I didn't really mind it. I mean, I've been late a couple times, so I'd be a complete hypocrite if I were to say I've never been late. But he strolls into the store around like 12:10. I have a line of like 4 customers just going through sandwich after sandwich after sandwich after sandwich. And I noticed that he's not in his attire. So let's call this person Greg for the sake of convenience. And Greg was always the type of person that would come in, get straight on the line, and start making sandwiches. But I noticed Greg come to the back, and he looks over to me, looks at the customers, and goes, Milad, can you come here for a second? And I'm like, I kind of have a sandwich in my hand right now, but you can just tell me what's going on. What's up? He holds his key up to me and then says, Milad, I've had enough of making sandwiches. I quit. And he drops his key and literally walks out the back door. And I'm looking at the sandwich, looking back at him walking out, and then looking at the customer and basically thinking in my mind, of all the days you had to quit, it had to be this one, huh? But I was seriously so confused. Like, what just happened? I've never experienced somebody quit on the job, and I was left alone for the rest of my shift, which was like another like 2 or 3 hours. But here's where the kicker comes in. Greg was like the nicest kid in the world, and he had been working there for like 3 or 4 weeks by now. So I just basically asked him, I'm like, Greg, what's up? What happened? Like, why did you quit on the spot? And he told me that a competitor sandwich shop in his town recruited him because he works at Subway. Mustard, what is the worst thing a customer can do. So there's some pretty bad customers out there, but I think the two things that I talk about in this video are, well, probably the worst things possible that a customer at any fast food place could ever do. And there's a bonus one at the end, so make sure you stick around and listen to it and subscribe for more awesome content like this. So I think the worst thing that a customer has ever done to me before was refuse to leave the store. It was a night like every single other night where I was just kind of closing up everything and putting everything back into the refrigerator, but I had one customer that came into the store literally like 2 minutes before I planned on closing, and this customer, well, he ordered a sandwich that was pretty stacked, and I had everything in the back, so I had to start bringing it back to the front, and he asked if he could just sit in the store and eat the sandwich, and it was like 9:30 at night, so I was like, you know what, that's fine, you can sit in the store while I close up, but you kind of got to leave in like 5 minutes if that's cool. And he completely agrees to it. He's like, yeah, I'll leave as soon as you need me to leave, it's no problem at all. And you know, there was a little bit of awkward time in between where I was like, I kind of want this customer to leave, but I don't want to be rude and be like, yo, please leave the store. But you know, I had somewhere to be. It was like 9:30 at night. I wanted to be home. I was going to meet up with some friends, do whatever I was going to do. So I kindly asked the person, I was like, hey, do you mind if I close up shop now? And he's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem at all. But he just sat there. Like, he didn't get up at all or even move a muscle. So I was kind of confused. And I was sitting there like, I wonder if it kind of like rang with him whether or not he has to leave. And so I did tell him like another time, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he left right away. Now that's not too bad, all right? But I had another customer where she asked me to toast her sandwich, and this is the infamous "did I burn her sandwich" meme that I put up on my channel a few months ago. She basically told me toast the sandwich, make it extra crispy, and well, after I threw it into the toaster oven and made it a little extra crispy, she told me that I burnt her sandwich. This sandwich was not burnt in any way, ma'am. I know for a fact because I literally clicked the button that we always click. I actually under toasted it, if anything, but she insisted that the sandwich was burnt and wanted me to make her a brand new sandwich, and I was pretty annoyed by this. And then the real kicker that got me at the end was she asked me if she could keep the burnt sandwich. This sandwich wasn't burnt at all, was it? In that moment, I felt a little enraged, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bite my teeth. And I told her, nah, you're not going to take this burnt sandwich. And so what I ended up doing was eating that burnt sandwich for myself and for like 10 million other people on YouTube to enjoy watching. So that was a pretty annoying case of a customer that felt a little entitled. And don't get me wrong, a lot of customers aren't like this. But as an additional bonus story, I think one of the most annoying things I've ever had a customer do is they literally will spill their drink on the ground and never even clean it up or tell me about it. So I had a drink sitting on the ground for like an hour before realizing it. And well, let's just say that was one of the hardest messes I ever had to clean up. Has someone thrown something at you like a sandwich? I actually have had stuff thrown at me before, which is shocking because you never expect somebody to throw something at a Subway worker. And I actually know somebody in the past who actually threw a sandwich at a customer, but you have to hear the story to understand why. But first, about 22% of you guys are subscribed and 77% aren't. So if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing and turn on the bell notifications. Working at Subway, you definitely meet some interesting characters. And it's kind of weird because it feels like some of the customers that come in have never been trained any etiquette and going to restaurants by their parents. And these are like grown people, like these are like 30, 40-year-olds. So something that commonly happens is whenever I go to ring up a customer, instead of handing me whatever the change is or the dollar amount is, they'll kind of slide it across the table. And well, a lot of the times when they do that, it actually falls onto the ground and I have to like literally bend over and pick up the change. And I mean, this might not seem like a big deal, but it's a little rude in my eyes. And I'm sure this happens to a lot of other fast food employees, and well, it's just not fun to deal with. And I think something even more annoying is that a couple times I've had a customer slide their chips across the counter and it'll fall onto the floor, and the customer will get mad at me because I let the chips fall on the floor, and they're like, I'm not taking this bag of chips. I'm going to take a bag of chips that doesn't have cracked chips because it fell on the floor. And I'm like, sir, you're the one that slid it across the table that got it on the floor. And you say, did somebody ever throw a sandwich, or have I ever thrown a sandwich? And I've never personally thrown a sandwich. Not my Subway. Nobody's ever thrown a sandwich at me. I mean, come on, how ridiculous is that? Well, it's not too ridiculous because my brother told me a story one time about how one of his friends that worked at a Subway actually threw a sandwich at a customer. The customer was basically giving the guy a huge attitude, and at one point a fight started to break out. Not physical, but verbal. And the guy said, this is why you're going to work at Subway for the rest of your life and work at this dead-end job. And the person's parents own the Subway, and well, he wasn't having it. So I think it was the final straw, and well, he literally threw the sandwich at the customer, and obviously the customer reported to corporate, and the employee that threw the sandwich had to take like a leave for a couple months and do like this training where he had to agree like, I will never throw a sandwich at a customer ever again in my entire life. But I mean, if you ask me, if a customer's telling you that you're going to work a dead-end job at Subway the rest of your life, maybe he had it coming. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but you know, I'll always side with the sandwich artist. Milad, have you ever gotten an order messed up? I think the worst feeling in the world is ordering some good food, being so excited about what you're about to eat, and then you get home and the order is in shambles. Missing food, no sauce, no napkins, the absolute worst case scenario. This happens all the time, and it happened to me and one of my friends who went to a Subway recently. Wait until you hear how he dealt with it. Also, 77% of you guys aren't subscribed, so if that's you, please subscribe because clicking that one button will change my my life. So whenever I go out to get food now, I have to make sure to pull over to the side and see that everything I ordered is in the bag. These trust issues 100% stemmed from my childhood, because when I was a young lad, my parents would let me and my brother pick where to eat after every single football game we won. And one time after a big playoff win, my mom took me and my brothers to a McDonald's. I was so excited to order my $2 menu cheeseburgers, a McFlurry, and a small fries. But when we got to the window, I heard the most devastating words imaginable. They were, "The ice cream machine broke." My world was destroyed, but I was still destined to get my 2 cheeseburgers and fries. We went to the window, kindly asked for some barbecue sauce, and went on our way. Me and my brother were hype, and I didn't even think about the McFlurry anymore. But when I opened the bag of food, I was horrified. They forgot one of my cheeseburgers and my barbecue sauce, and my dad ate half of my french fries on the ride. And then we lost our next game and never went back. Something similar actually happened to my friend at Subway a few weeks ago, and this man is the nicest man I know. We'll call him Derek. Recently, Derek told me that he's been watching the videos, and it motivated him to incorporate Subway into his diet. For 2 weeks, he was getting the protein bowls from Subway every single day, but one day, they forgot to put the meat. They forgot to put literally the only ingredient that matters onto the bowl. It's like forgetting the patty on a burger and just handing someone 2 buns with a tomato in between. Derek was understanding, though. Humans can make mistakes. So he wrote a strongly worded email to the manager of the store about this matter, hoping they would fix it. And well, the manager replied with one word: sorry. From that day forward, Derek never went back to Subway, and I figured out the connection between a man and his meat. Milad, have you ever served someone who is deaf or blind? When I used to work at our old Subway, there was a deaf family that used to come in a lot, but I remember the first time they came in, I was confused because the father kept pointing at his ears when I asked him what kind of bread that they wanted. At that moment, a 16-year-old Milad didn't know that this family was deaf. But once it hit me that they weren't able to hear what I was asking, I tried to be as helpful as possible. You're probably wondering what to do in a scenario like this, and honestly, I had no idea at the time. So if you don't know either, I don't blame you. I was on the spot, but I quickly realized something. By pointing and showing off the different options available to this family, they were able to tell me yes or no with a simple thumbs up or thumbs down. This was an OP system, and once we got this down, every single time I would see them come into the store, I knew exactly what they wanted. And if they didn't want something that they wanted previously, we would just use the thumbs up or thumbs down and the point method again. Nothing would make my shift better than seeing this family happily coming in and smiling and waving at me. They were some of the kindest people that I would ever see come into the store, so I was always on the lookout for them. I even wanted to do something special for them once because they were always so great to me. So one time on shift, I noticed them coming in to order something through one of the big glass windows up front, and I quickly ran to my laptop in the back and I looked up some common sign language signals, and in that little bit of time, I was able to learn hello and thank you. The smiles on their faces when I was able to communicate with them through sign language is something that I'll never forget. Even though it was just 2 gestures, it made a world of difference for me, and I could imagine for them too. And the little boy in the family was jumping up and down so excited, and I may or may not have been holding back tears of joy in that moment. But I've never served somebody blind in my 6 years as a fast food worker, but I think it would be pretty simple to handle. At least I would hope. I have no idea because I've never done it. But visually, it would be very difficult to decipher what they're exactly looking for, but I think speaking, and especially if they've come into the store before, that would make a world of difference. So we could just verbally communicate back and forth whatever goes onto the sandwich or whatever food product I'm working on. And I actually saw a video once of a blind person who didn't have much trouble at restaurants at all, but the hardest part for him was trusting whoever was serving him. The man told a story once about how he went to a restaurant all by himself and he bought a meal for a little under $20, but when he asked the person who served him to assist and to take the correct amount of change from his wallet, the server ended up taking a $100 bill. I hope that server gets the karma they deserve. But anyways, to this day, I'll never forget that family and the joy that they used to bring to me, and hopefully the delicious sandwiches I gave to them. And if you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing. It helps me out so much. Milker, have you ever just zoned out on an order when a customer is just standing in front of you? I'd be lying if I told you that I'm a sandwich god that can memorize any person's entire order by them just telling me at once. But at Subway, you get a ton of customers who think it's a great idea to tell you the whole sandwich all at one time. So when I'm behind the counter and someone does that, it feels like I have to remember as many pieces of a puzzle as possible. But every once in a while, we all zone out, and this usually happens to me near closing time. Whether it be putting ranch on a sandwich instead of mayo, or making somebody an Italian BMT sandwich instead of their steak and cheese, I have, well, completely destroyed people's orders before, and I blame it usually on having plans right after work. I'll be making somebody's sandwich and just thinking through, oh my god, I can't wait to get out of work so I can go hang out with my friends or just do something more fun than being at work. I mean, I think a lot of you can relate to that work in fast food. But I'll never forget one time where it was 30 minutes before closing time and I was just getting ready to leave. I was looking forward to going home because I planned on meeting my friends after to eat some wings and watch a really, really important football game. And at the time while I was closing, all I had my mind on was the flavor of wings I was gonna gonna get. And for those wondering, yes, I get boneless, and yes, I think they are better than bone-in. Fight me about this. But anyways, on this night, I was counting the minutes till I was literally gonna close when I hear the sound of a bell go off and the door open. In my mind, I'm hoping this customer wants something simple, but when I go behind the counter and start my usual, "Hi sir, welcome to Subway, what can I get for you?" this man rattles off his sandwich with every single ingredient at what seems like supersonic speed. And my little puny brain literally didn't hear any of it because I was so on autopilot thinking about wings and a football game after I was gonna get out of work. And so I thought that he wanted Italian bread. I got Italian bread. Turns out he wanted wheat. I thought he wanted a turkey sandwich. Turns out he wanted a steak and cheese. And I just remember standing there and staring at him because I didn't remember a word that he said. But in that moment, I had a job to do. And so I snapped back into sandwich making mode. And well, I had to ask the man to repeat his entire order. I'll never forget the look on this guy's face when I told him this. It was like a disappointed father seeing his son's bad grades. But hey, I was hungry and I was looking forward to some wings. If I'm being honest, I could have done a lot better, but he just sighed and started his whole order again, and he even took the time to quiz me after it. And to this day, I still remember what this guy gets because he took the time to quiz me. And we ended up having a good laugh about it. I think it was because we were both hungry. So the second the customer walked out of the store, I went to the door and immediately locked it, turned off all the lights, packed up everything, and then I went straight to my favorite wing place and ordered some really hot, spicy wings. And now I always remember to be in the present moment when somebody's ordering a sandwich, and more importantly, I know not to get spicy wings because that was a nightmare of a night. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. This is a professional bartender, and well, this is me, a complete beginner. I've never made a drink in my entire life, and if I'm being honest, I don't drink anything that often besides water or soda. But my buddy Vlad invited me and some friends over to his studio and taught us how to make some amazing drinks. You know, I never realized how much skill actually goes into being a bartender, and I promise by the end of this video, you're going to be absolutely amazed by some of the tricks that Vlad pulls out of his hat. But first, about 75% of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's completely free, and you might be in a future video just by subscribing. So Vlad had this entire setup where we would make our drinks, and it was as if I was on a movie set with him. It was a really cool experience, and he wanted to show me how to make a non-alcoholic beverage. And so we started out by grabbing a huge rectangular ice cube and priming the tall glass so that it would be chilled for our drink. Nobody wants a warm glass, right? Well, this is something I would have never thought of, but obviously because Vlad is a world champion bartender, he knows things that we would never even consider doing for our drinks. And well, after that, we squeezed our lime into our drink, and usually I would squeeze a lime with my hands, but when I do this, I get lime juice in my eyes all the time. One time when I was a kid, I literally squeezed lime juice into my eyes and thought my life was flashing before my eyes. But anyways, this lime press made it nearly impossible for this to happen. Professional bartenders truly know what they're doing. And so finally, we poured our non-alcoholic tequila along with a lemon lime soda into our drink, and boom, Vlad taught us how to make an amazing drink. I took one sip of this and I was on cloud 9, but now it's time for Vlad to blow your mind. The entire time Vlad was telling us about a fire show, and me and my friends had no clue what to expect. In my eyes, this would just be a way for Vlad to light up the room or create a better video, but nope. This man literally set bottles on fire and started throwing them in the air as if he was a fire wizard. If I was impressed before, this put me over the edge. And from this entire experience, I pretty quickly learned how much of an art bartending is, along with probably so many other jobs on this planet. People don't just walk behind the counter of a bar and start serving up drinks in incredible ways. No, this is a muscle that needs to be flexed. Vlad has been doing this for his entire life. He moved from the Ukraine to America just to seize the opportunity and take his skills to another level, which is so incredible to me. Cheers to my friend Vlad, and cheers to the other bartenders around the world working extremely hard. And now next time you go to a bar, tip your bartender a little bit extra because now you know how hard they work. And now I want to try something new. If you made it to this point in the video, please leave a comment down below saying we love Vlad. Milad, do you have any travel nightmare stories? Well, about a week ago, I experienced one of the most horrific flights home I think I've ever had. YouTube invited me and a bunch of other creators to go to Las Vegas to make content together, which was fun and all. But once the fun came to an end, I had to get on a flight that left the airport at 6 a.m. I got up at 4 a.m. that day and almost missed my flight. I had Ubers reschedule on me 3 different times. And of course, the hotel I was staying at had 0 taxis outside to take me to the airport. But I got lucky and didn't end up missing my flight. And once I boarded, I immediately passed out. In the beginning, I was getting nudged off of my armrest by the woman next to me, and I thought this was going to be the biggest issue of my flight. Nope. About 2 hours into the flight, I was woken up by the person behind me kicking my seat. I figured, whatever, it's probably just a kid, so I went to adjust my seat back so that I could go back to bed. And when I tell you that I felt the sheer gravity of 1,000 bulls kick my seat back into place, I really mean it. I literally thought I had whiplash from the seat being put back in place, and so I turned around as slowly as possible for dramatic effect, of course, and I realized something. This was no child sitting behind me, it was a full-grown woman, and she wasn't wasn't the one kicking my seat. It was a dude that was definitely 20 years older than me. Not old enough where I'm like, aw. No, old enough where this is a grown man kicking my seat in. And so out of my mouth, I uttered the words, "What are you doing?" And at first, he was civil. He said, "You know, I'm 6'3", I have no space." And I was like, "Understandable, have a great day." But then I look at him and say, "Just please don't kick my seat again. It keeps waking me up." When I tell you that I've never seen somebody get so angry in a moment, I mean it. This dude did a full 180-degree turn and started cursing at me and trying to put me in my place. It's 8 a.m., we're in the back of economy, and this man is screaming at me at the top of his lungs about how he's allowed to kick my seat in and how I'm a punk for asking him not to. And the best part is there's like 15 people around us just watching who just woke up from this dude screaming. And his wife next to him was trying to calm him down, and he was basically like, "Nah, I'm going for blood." So he keeps screaming at me, and I'm just looking this dude in the eyes through his soul, and I couldn't do anything but literally just laugh. Guys, I started cracking up. I really couldn't contain it. And honestly, I think this just made him even angrier. This was one of the most ridiculous situations I think I've ever gotten. And this man was full-blown yelling at me about putting my chair back on an airplane at 8 in the morning. So finally, after about 30 seconds, the woman next to me who was stealing my armrest told the dude in the nicest way possible to stop talking. She was the hero of the flight, basically telling me, "Hey, crazy people exist, just ignore it." And then after, basically everyone on the plane was telling the dude to chill out. And finally, he was calm, but I could hear him murmuring to himself literally right behind me about how much of a punk I am. So I sat there for a good 30 seconds before just passing out again. And when we landed, I noticed that the dude was definitely not 6'3". Man was 5'8" at most and gave me the dirtiest look literally until we were off the plane. I think the guy just needed a little extra love. So comment a heart emoji to spread the love. And also, please subscribe, because if you do, you'll be a citizen of the country I start when I hit 10 million subscribers. Milad, are you actually starting a country, or is this all for clout? So over the past few days, I've started to make a completely different type of content for my YouTube shorts, and I've been having so much fun making this content. So much so that I'd say I'm having as much fun as when I first started making content. It's honestly been a blast. It feels so fresh and so new to me, but one of the things that happened along with this new style of content was me making a claim. In these videos, I've been saying that once I hit 10 million subscribers, I'm gonna start my own country, and at first, it was a complete joke. My brother saw a few other YouTubers talk about how they're getting creative with their milestones on YouTube and building a community around doing something together with their fan base, so he pitched me the idea of starting my own country. When I first heard the idea, I honestly thought it was one of the most ridiculous ideas I'd ever heard, but then night after night, the idea got stuck in my head. I started to think about how cool it would actually be to have a country. I thought about how cool the parties on the country would be. Heck, I even started doing some in-depth research into how to buy an island and actually declare yourself a country. By the way, it's a lot easier than I thought. All you have to do is own land and declare yourself a country. That's how places like the City with No Laws, aka Slab City in California, exist. But at this point, even with all of these thoughts racing through my head, I thought the idea was still ridiculous. 1, how would I ever in a million years get to 10 million subscribers? 2, how am I gonna get an island to start this country? And 3, would my audience even want me to be doing this? And so I had an internal conflict, but then my brother helped me realize something. I'm literally a person that a year ago was working a minimum wage job at Subway with not even $100 to my name and about 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. Anything is possible. So I entertained the idea and posted a short where I mentioned that I want to start a country when I hit 10 million subscribers, and I thought the short would flop, but nope. Thousands of you beautiful lads began commenting about how amazing it would be to be a part of the country and encouraging me to chase my dreams in getting this island and starting a country together. Honestly, it brought a tear to my eye. Our community was so supportive of an idea so outlandish and crazy that now I have to do it. At 10 million subscribers, I'm gonna start my own country. I'll figure out how to get the island. I'll figure out how to exactly create a country. And what my brother said was true. Anything is possible, but I do need your support. This is a really hard task to accomplish on my own, but there are 2.85 million of us. 2.85 million people subscribe to this channel. There is so much power in numbers, so if you aren't subscribed, subscribe, and even if you could get one person to join the cause, it would help so much. So to answer the question, I promise this isn't for clout. I want to prove that we can do the impossible when we all work together. This is more than just me. This is for the lads. Milad, do you have any Subway stories about coupons? So at Subway, coupons are one of the most controversial topics in existence, and I'll tell you why. Subway, the company, will send coupons in the mail at random times to customers, but a lot of the times, the owners of the actual stores will have no idea what was sent in the mail or even how many were sent. So this causes confusion for store owners like my parents. Some stores will accept every single coupon that comes in the mail, and some won't even accept the free cookie coupon, which, come on, you gotta give free cookies to the people. They deserve free cookies, and you deserve a free cookie, so please subscribe. Anyways, our shop has always kind of been in the middle. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why this can be an issue. We would accept some coupons, but we also wouldn't accept others. A good example is a coupon where if you buy one sandwich, you get one for free. Now, on paper, this sounds great until you realize that they sent this same exact coupon in a book of 20-something coupons to 8,000 different houses in the area. And Subway would send this coupon out every single month. Don't get me wrong, we did accept it a few years beforehand, but at some point, it stopped becoming worth it. When I first started working at Subway, my mom told me this. She said, Milad, you can take any coupon, but please just do not accept the buy one, get one free coupons. And well, I wasn't very good at directions at the time, so I had a customer come in on one of my very first shifts trying to use one of the buy one, get one free coupons, and I'm just standing there like, yep, this checks out. So she goes to the register and I ring it up and tell my mom, and well, I think that was the moment my mom realized I'm not the smartest boy in the world, and I didn't want to disappoint my mom again, so I promised myself I would remember and become a coupon warrior. So the next day, the same woman comes back into the store with another buy one, get one free coupon, but this time I couldn't allow it. I had a promise to make to my mom, and in a different way, I had instructions to follow from the boss. But if you know anything about people who use coupons, the number one thing they despise is somebody telling them that they can't use their coupon. So this woman is obviously going to be upset. She asked me why she could use the coupon the day before, but not today, and I kindly tried telling her it was a mistake on my part, but she doesn't believe me. This woman was not leaving the store until she could use every single one of her buy one, get one free coupons, and I tried my hardest to point her to the 19 other coupons in the booklet, but she still wasn't convinced. This was a level 100 coupon connoisseur. If she couldn't use the one she wanted to use, she would make us pay. So what she did was stand at the door and start to hand a coupon to everyone coming in. I think that she thought this was getting payback at us, but to me, I was like, sweet, more happy customers. Anyways, the woman told me she's never coming back and basically asked me to speak to my manager in 104 different ways. And in the end, I understood the importance of coupon culture. Morp, have you ever been blamed for someone else's problem, say a coworker or a customer? Working in fast food has its pros and cons, and I would say the biggest con there is when a customer is angry. Not only when a customer is angry, but when you did something they told you to do, and then they tell you that you messed up their order. I had a coworker a few years ago who didn't speak the best English, but she was the sweetest person in the world. For some reason, the fact that she didn't speak fluent English would make some customers upset. She would ask customers what type of bread they wanted, and some would get so mad at this simple question. Honestly, customers got mad at me for asking that too, but they would give this girl an especially hard time. Well, one day a man came into the shop and he didn't seem like he was having the best day. It was really clear he was trying to get out of the sandwich shop as fast as possible, probably to drive to his Pilates class that he was 15 minutes late for. Anyways, my coworker started helping this guy, and he would start snapping at her after every ingredient he said, like literally snapping like this. I definitely thought this was weird, but my coworker had seen it all at this point, so it didn't really seem to faze her. Anyways, they're getting to the part where they're about to toast the sandwich, and I'm helping a completely different customer. All I hear the man in a rush say is to toast the sandwich. So as any sane sandwich artist would do, she put the sandwich into the toaster to toast, but this is not what he meant. He wanted her to toast everything except the bread. So when she took it out of the toaster, he freaked. I honestly felt really bad for what was happening, but then this dude looks at me dead in the eyes and just starts going in. He's telling me that I should be the one who's making the sandwich, and basically started having a public freak out at a Subway at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I started apologizing and even offered to remake the sandwich completely for free, but he seemed done, so he stormed out, got in his car, and drove off. And the customer I was originally helping said to me, "What on earth just happened?" Turn on bell notifications and subscribe. I love you. Bye. Monkey in Space asks, what's the biggest order you've ever gotten at Subway? For those of you that don't know, Subway is the sandwich shop that I used to work at, and well, sometimes it would just get extremely busy. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary to be making like 2 or 3 sandwiches at the same time, and I've had multiple times where somebody asks me for 4 veggie delights with every single vegetable on them. And in case you don't know, there are a lot of vegetables at Subway, and sometimes there's occasionally a little less of a certain vegetable than another, and the customers are always sure to let you know. But moving on, early on when I was a young Subway worker, I was greeted by one of the kindest people I think I've ever met. She was a sweet old woman that walked up to the counter, and I thought it was going to be a breeze. I thought this would be the easiest sandwich I've ever made in my life. But the woman pulled out a list. Now, a list is my worst nightmare, okay? It implies that I'm going to have to be making multiple sandwiches, not just 1 or 2. But no, she asked me for 9 sandwiches. 9-foot-long sandwiches, all different. And well, it was nighttime and I was all alone, but thankfully no customers walked in while I was making these 9 sandwiches. You know, honestly, I kind of wish that I could have like filmed that moment because that was so iconic. The woman was so nice, and if I remember correctly, she left me like a really nice tip too. So shout out to her if she's still out there. But anyways, that was my introduction to just how crazy it can get. Well, about a year ago, I had a customer walk into the store, and before I tell you what he ordered, I need you to understand this was like 9 a.m. I was literally just trying to prep everything and make sure that, we were handled for lunch, but this guy walks in, and I go, "How can I help you, sir?" And he tells me that he needs 1,000 sandwiches. 1,000 sandwiches? Where on earth am I supposed to get 1,000 sandwiches from? I asked him why, and he said it was for a local charity because he was with some crypto organization. I don't know. I think he was trying to recruit me to his Ponzi scheme, but I was like, if you give us like maybe a day or two, like we can get this done. And I was so worried that he was just gonna like walk out of the store and we just lost the opportunity to make 1,000 sandwiches. But he understood, and I don't know. We made 500 footlongs and just cut them in half, all for him, and they all went to charity. So that was strange. And then there was another time where somebody came in and ordered 13 sandwiches. Luckily, I was with a coworker at the time. We just kind of breezed through them. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Also, I'm starting a country when I hit 10 million subscribers, and if you subscribe right now, you're gonna be a legal citizen. So just please subscribe and maybe even turn on bell notifications. All right, I love you. Bye. Milad, has anyone ever came in with only 1 cent? Honestly, I don't think I've ever had a customer come into the Subway with just a penny. Well, maybe once. You'll understand what I mean by the end of the video. I think 99% of people walking into a food place know to have some form of payment on them, and the other 1% are, well, Ryan Trahan and his supporters. But something that commonly happens at the store is that a customer will get an item and the total will come out to something like $6.99, and they'll hand me $7, and there's this awkward pause for 2 to 3 seconds where I'm just fumbling around in the register trying to scoop out a single penny, while the hungry person in front of me just wants to eat their sandwich, and they'll just start aggressively pointing at the tip jar while I'm cluelessly still trying to dig out a penny. Sometimes customers will just walk away and I'll be there like, sweet, a free penny. Other times they'll very politely say, sir, please keep the change, and I get to just throw that penny into my tip jar. Honestly, it makes my day. I think nothing compares to the time when a woman was short 1 penny and I told her that it was completely okay and she had enough and she could just take her sandwich and go, but she insisted on going out to her car and getting the penny. So I stood there waiting for a minute for the penny while there were 2 customers online just staring me down, and when she came back, she brought back 2 pennies and she dropped the second one into the tip jar for me, and that made my day. It's kind of crazy how often you get tipped a penny. You would think it's a rare occurrence, but think about it. The change that people never want to carry is unfortunately the penny, which is why the government also has talked a lot about getting rid of pennies, which is so sad to me. Please don't take away the penny. But by the way, did you know that it costs 2 cents to make a penny according to NPR? This has to be an issue, right guys? I guess that's how you know inflation is bad. But anyways, even though we've never had somebody come in with a penny before, at the old Subway we had a few occurrences where people would come in with 0 pennies or no money, and this is a tricky situation. Depending on the behavior of somebody coming in with no money, I like to supply a free meal and help where I can. But I know there are a lot of restaurant owners that never want to give away free food because they worry that the person is going to come back again and they're going to expect a free meal time and time again. In my experience, this never happens. It's usually a person who just is down on their luck, and you would never understand how far a free meal can go for them. So whenever I was working and somebody would come in and ask for a free meal, so long as they were polite and just a good person, I could just get that vibe. I would always give them a free 6-inch and sometimes cookies and chips. You would never understand how far something like that can go. And I've talked about it in the past with these stories, but I think where I drew the line is I would never allow somebody to abuse my kindness. But as my mom always taught me, if you're in a position to help somebody, then do it. Because if you're not ever going to help someone else, why would anyone ever help you when you may need it? Thank you guys for watching this video. Also, about 79% of you guys aren't subscribed, so if that's you, please hit that red button. It helps me out so much. Like the video and comment a story. Have an amazing day. I love you guys. Peace. If you work in the food industry or any service level job, you've probably at some point heard the words, "I got you next time." For those of you who are lucky enough to have never experienced this, there are some people in this world that believe that no rules apply to them. They're free to do whatever they want, including not paying for things that literally every single other human on this planet knows should be paid for. They think that somebody else working hard and running a business is just another NPC in their world, and that they could take ultimate advantage of them with 5 words, "I got you next time." At my job, this seemed like it would happen almost every single month. Someone would come in, I'd make their sandwich, we'd get to the register, and they'd say something along the lines of, "Oh man, I don't have cash right now, but I got you next time I'm here though." Bro, I've never seen you before in my entire life, and I know for a fact that I'll never see you again. There is no next time. Just pay the $6 for your sandwich. But I want to make it clear that the regular customers who forget their wallet and just don't have enough to pay at that moment, of course I'm going to let them pay next time. But if I've never seen you before and you walk into the store, you ask me to make your sandwich ingredient by ingredient, and then you have the nerve to tell me you're going to pay next time, well, have fun being hungry for lunch. If someone's going to say, "I got you next time" to me, I might as well say it too. Whenever you have the funds, your sandwich will be right here for you. And I already know there's going to be some people in the comments saying, "But Milad, they just forgot their wallet." My brother in Christ, if this was 2004, I would accept this as an answer, but we're literally in 2023. You can pay me in cash, credit card, Apple Pay, Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, CryptoZoo. There's no excuse. Honestly, just grab a mop and start cleaning the floors. We'll take all forms of payment. And I remember back in the day, aka 2016, when all of these fancy payment methods weren't as popular and I was brand new to my job, I let somebody slide who told me that they would pay next time, and I thought nothing of it. The guy seemed like an honest lad,
and honestly, he seemed pretty good for it. I watched him ride off in his car while eating a sandwich, and I just remember thinking to myself, I'm never gonna see this man again. And I was right. I never saw the guy again in my entire life. Another time, I had a dude come in that told me he didn't have any cash on him and that he left his credit card in the car. So he said he'll be right back to grab his credit card. I must have stood there for 25 minutes before I realized he just drove off and he's never coming back. I'm pretty sure I ate that sandwich during my lunch break, and I remember it being pretty good. But that couldn't even come close to one of the first times I actually let somebody take the sandwich and pay next time. When they came back to the store a few days later, they literally just told me that it wasn't them. It was the same exact dude, and he was just telling me straight to my face that he didn't get a sandwich. I think it must have been his evil twin or something. I don't know to this day. But nothing will top the guy that told me that he forgot his wallet at home, and he said his home was about 20 minutes away. I must have told him 5 times that it was okay and that he could just come in and pay next time, but this absolute Chad insisted on making things right and paying right now. So the dude drove home, grabbed his wallet, and came back and paid me. I don't think I'll ever forget this, and honestly, I don't understand why he did it, but once again, absolute Chad. Okay, in all seriousness, if you can't pay and you make it really clear that you're going to come back and pay later, of course we're going to give you the food and trust you. But if you're one of the ones who say you'll come back and pay later and basically steal whatever the store is giving to you, you're literally taking food from the mouths of the business owner and their families. So don't steal, don't be mean, and don't do drugs, kids. A Subway bagel is most likely one of the most funkiest but interesting things I have ever made while working at Subway. You know, something that I think Subway is very underrated on is their bread. Most people that I've talked to that go to a lot of sandwich shops say that Subway does have the best bread, but a lot of others say, well, let's just say that there's some unfortunate things around the bread that a lot of people say. But either way, I think they make perfect for making donuts at Subway. Wait, did I just say donuts? I meant bagels. But I'm not kidding when I say that these bagels came out looking like donuts. Like at the end of the video, I was basically like, should I just turn this video into a donut video and dip these into like powdered sugar and maybe get some frosting and sprinkles and such? But I didn't end up doing it. I guess Subway Donuts has to be its own complete separate video. Let me know if you want that. And by the way, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel right now if you can. It helps us out so much. Now, let me tell you, making these Subway bagels was a complete nightmare. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say this took more than an hour of work. And if I was just making regular bagels, I feel like it would have taken like 10 minutes. But I basically had to take the Subway breadsticks, and those things are straight, and I had to curve them into the form of a bagel. Do you understand how hard it is? I mean, it was a lot harder than, I guess I made it sound. I don't know. But I also had to spray it down with water and reform it, and in the middle of me doing all of this, I dropped my pan of bagel. Well, of the, you know what I mean. And I had to start all over from scratch. It kind of hurt, but I knew that the end result of a Subway bagel would be worth it. We're making Subway into a bagel shop. Just kidding. Don't order a Subway. Do not go to Subway and order a Subway bagel, please. But for one of them, I made plain. One of them, I added some cheese and some oregano. And one of them, I added some of the Italian urban cheese spread and some more cheese. These things came out pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. As you would say, they're bussin'. And I actually ended up making one of them into the form of a sandwich, too. This is kind of insane as sandwich bread, I gotta say. My intention was to make a bagel out of this, but I might have just created a new form of bread for sandwiches. The ring bread. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. Take care, have a beautiful and blessed day, everybody. Like the video and subscribe. Peace! So a few days ago, I decided to make myself a nice little steak and put it on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. And little did I know that this steak would probably be the most controversial steak I've ever created in my existence. Originally, the video was about how I asked for ketchup on my steak at a restaurant. And the way that I prepared my steak, as I quote the comment section, was atrocious, disgusting, bloody raw. And some have even gone on to say it was the worst steak they've ever seen in the entirety of their entire lives. Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, most of you were telling me that I cooked it in the wrong pot. I didn't cook it for long enough. There was zero sear and just plain out other things. But listen, man, I do know how to make a steak sandwich at Subway. So here is my steak sandwich build at Subway. Listen, maybe I'm not a professional chef. Maybe I'm not like all of you cool kids out there that have like 100,000 followers on TikTok going around just roasting people for their chef skills. A couple of them with a couple million just roasting me for being a bad chef. I mean, I'm a Subway worker. But let me tell you, this steak sandwich, it'll put you to sleep. On my Milad steak sandwich, I like to get steak, cheddar cheese, and then I put peppers and onions, and then I put another layer of cheddar cheese. I toast the sandwich, take it out of the oven, and usually I only add chipotle. But today, I was in a bit of a veggie mood. So I said I'd add like lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, and even barbecue sauce. I compare this sandwich to literally a burger at like a pretty decent burger place. But yeah, I'm gonna try again to make that steak. I'm not gonna let the internet make me give up on my dreams of making the perfect Gordon Ramsay style steak. But for now, you'll just have to enjoy this steak sandwich at Subway for being delicious. And this
is a verbal apology about the steak that I created previously. I meant no harm to the steak or chef community. If you enjoyed this video, please leave the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on those bell notifications. Have a beautiful and blessed day, and peace. You guys are obsessed whenever I make these Subway funky creations. So today we are making Subway pizza rolls. Now I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, Milad, pizza rolls are tiny and these things are going to end up huge. I mean, you're using a whole roll of Italian bread for each pizza roll? And to them, I say, yes. You know, a pizza roll shouldn't be discriminated by size or shape. Every pizza roll is beautiful, just like all of these. So in order to make the pizza roll, I just simply took a soft piece of Italian bread and I spiraled it into the shape of a circle. After spiraling it, I thought it actually looked so cool and I wanted to bake it just like that right there on the spot. But I had to hold myself together. We're on a quest for Subway pizza bagels. We don't need no spiral bread. But let me know if I should make that for a short. And yeah, basically in one of them we put marinara sauce. Well, actually in all of them we ended up putting marinara sauce. But on one of them we put some mozzarella cheese. On some of them we put some fresh mozzarella. On some of them we put pepperonis as well. And on one of them, just one, we put a little bit of spinach. I saw it on a video before. I thought it would be delicious. I know you're supposed to use like ricotta cheese with spinach, but it still looked like a masterpiece. But yeah, these Subway pizza bagels, these little treats just pack such a punch. And it was such a mess to make, but I promise they actually came out looking like a snack at the end. I know it looks messy, I know, but trust me, when it came out of the oven, it was just so beautiful. And you know, having pizza rolls brings me back to my childhood so much. Whenever my mom didn't feel like cooking, I would literally just go to the fridge and take out a bunch of these things, put them into the confectional oven, and you know, just have dinner for the night. I mean, sure, it's not the most healthy snack in the world, but if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. I've actually met people that mix their pizza rolls in with like french fries or other foods, which is so interesting to me. You know, I don't think I'm that psychotic enough to do that, but to each their own, right? Anyways, after taking these things out of the oven, I had to let them cool down a little bit. In order to let things cool down, I usually stick them into the freezer. I know it's a little weird, but it's the fastest way to cool something down. Pro tip, by the way, if you work at Subway, if you ever take something out of the oven and you need it to cool really quickly for a customer, just put it into the freezer for a couple minutes. It does the job so well. And yeah, overall, these pizza rolls from Subway were an overall success, I gotta say. And as always, Subway, you gotta add this thing to the menu. If you made it this far, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I love you so dearly. Have a beautiful and blessed day, and peace! You know, sometimes you have a customer come into the store and you have no idea what they're even talking about. Let me elaborate. I think people come into the store and assume that I automatically own everything regarding Subway. So when there's a menu item like gluten-free bread that never comes and they've been expecting, or something like roast beef or honey oat bread gets discontinued, the person automatically assumes that I am the key holder and I made that decision. As if I sit at the desk at corporate and decide, we're taking this stuff off of the menu. And in case you didn't know, this is simply not the case. I, Milad, do not run things at Subway. I am simply just a Subway worker. So when you ask me to add things to the menu or why the prices are so high, please understand that, ma'am, I just work here. I know that my parents own the store, but they literally take protocol from Subway corporate. In a world where I could give you whatever you want, I 100% would. But it is not of the best interest to be in the store and acting like a child when I tell you that we don't have a certain item. I think the worst possible case scenario is me telling somebody that we don't have an item and them literally just belittling me about it in front of a whole line of customers, because then it makes the other customers even more upset as well. Listen, man, I just work at Subway. I literally have zero power besides making a delicious sandwich for you, and I want to try my best to make it a good experience every single time for you. But if that doesn't happen, I'm very sorry. I wish I could control certain things, but I simply cannot. And if I could, I would. I think the worst part when this happens is that somebody will come in and ask for an item, and they'll tell me that they could get it at another store, and it won't even be a Subway. It'll be like a different sandwich shop. And they're like, oh, well, I could go to this place and get this item. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to drive to this place, grab that item for you, come back to Subway and make you a sandwich using that item? You are being preposterous. Oh, and don't even get me started when we're out of cookies. Listen, I'm a huge cookie fanatic. I consider myself a cookie monster. But when we're out of an item, I cannot wave a magic wand and get more of that item. So for you to get mad at me because we don't have something is the most absurd thing I think could possibly ever happen. I feel like this only happens at Subway. Like, I've gone to fast food places and they'll be like, oh, the ice cream machine's broke, and won't even bat an eye. But when all of a sudden somebody comes into the Subway atmosphere, it's like everything needs to be their way perfectly. But hey, I guess that's just what comes with the job. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like the video and subscribe. Have a beautiful and blessed day, everybody, and remember, eat fresh. Peace! Yes, you read this title correctly. I now work at Cold Stone with Dylan LeMay, but it was only for a weekend. It's so funny because it feels like every single time that I even slightly move away from Subway, my audience just absolutely loses it. And it actually poses a question to me that I never really thought about before, but now I have to think about all the time. Will I be working at Subway for the rest of of my life? I mean, I know the obvious answer to this question is no, I'm not gonna be working at Subway until I'm like 70 years old on my deathbed. But at the same time, a majority of my content, every single thing that I came up on was related to Subway, and I feel like it's part of my brand at this point. In all honesty, it's a little scary because at any moment on any day, Subway could just give me the chopping block and tell me, hey, you can't make videos at your store anymore. And the last thing in the world that I ever want to do is disappoint you beautiful people. I mean, you guys have made my life like exponentially better, and I just don't want to disappoint you guys. And going away for a weekend and seeing the response to me not working at Subway has really scared me a little bit more as well. I know there is a big percentage of the audience that's here for like Milad content, but there's a very, very big percentage of the audience, if not everybody, that's here for the Subway content. And if there ever comes a day where I just can't provide that, like, that terrifies me. But in all honesty, life is amazing right now. Like, it's so perfect, and I wouldn't change a single thing, and I'm just so happy that every single day I can have fun working at my job, hanging out with my friends, and making cool videos for you guys. And stuff like this is even so cool to me because, like, I got flown halfway across the country just to make ice cream. I mean, like, come on. I literally can't think of something better, but at the same time, I want to make sure that my audience is okay, because the last thing I would ever want to do is to upset the people that have literally gifted me a platform that allows me to live my life like this. So this is where I turn the question to you and ask you as an audience member what you want to see. I mean, I've been told before that it's a bad idea to ask your audience what kind of content you want to make because they don't really know making content and they don't really understand where you're at. To them, I say nonsense. This is a journey, and I want my audience to be involved as much as possible in every single thing that I do. So please tell me in the comments what you want to see. Do you want to see me do more stuff like this where I fly out to friends and make content with them in POV? Do you want to see more stories? Do you want me to just stay at Subway? Because if I'm being honest, no matter what, as long as I'm making videos for you guys, I will be so happy. And in case this isn't clear, no, I did not quit Subway. I promise I did not quit Subway. I literally just wanted to take a vacation to hang out with my friend Dylan and make some cool ice cream content for you guys. And I don't know, I think a lot of you guys liked it, but a lot of you were confused. And I hope that this video kind of solved some of your confusion. I'll be back at Subway tomorrow working again. You know the vibes. But please, if you're a fan of this audience, if you enjoy what I make, please tell me in the comments what else you want me to see, because I'd love to do like anything you guys want me to see. Or I should say what you want to see. I don't know. My grammar is horrible today. Forgive me. But a huge shout out to Dylan for having me, and a huge shout out to all of you for watching these videos and loving and supporting everything. Please be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, and if you're new, please subscribe to the channel. Have a beautiful and blessed day, and remember everybody, eat fresh. Peace! I got a comment that told me to put all of the sauces at Subway onto a Subway sandwich, and I've done this in the past. Basically, my method in the past was always to just dump all the sauces onto a piece of bread and just kind of call it a day. But this time, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to actually make it so it's good, like, appetizing, putting all the sauces on a sandwich. Because I imagine if some customer walks in and asks for every sauce on a sandwich, it wouldn't be preferred for it to be just like a conglomerate of all the different sauces. So I put them into a pattern. Squares, you may call them. So on like one tiny sliver of the sandwich, I put the dot of Chipotle Southwest. On the next, I put some mayo. On the next, I put some ranch. And then honey mustard. And then Caesar. And from there, just carried it home with the rest of the sauces. You know, it's funny. Sometimes my audience wants to see me in pain. But I think there are such clever ways around videos like these because everyone knows that I hate to waste the food that I make. I tried the all-sauce sandwich before. Sure, I might have uked, but at least I tried it. This one, I'm gonna eat because I actually made it an edible sandwich. Now you may be asking yourself, Milad, what if a customer comes in and asks for an all-sauce sandwich? And my simple answer to that is no. You know, they say the customer is always right. But if you're coming to Subway asking for an all-sauce sandwich, now I would just rather give you all the sauces in a container because I don't think it makes sense to get every sauce on a sandwich. I see these Subway workers taking ridiculous requests, such as toasting a sandwich 35 times and almost setting their Subway store on fire. But you know, here at Millard's Subway, the simple answer is no, unless it's for a stage 3 pizza. In that case, call ahead of time about 3 hours, meet me in the back of Subway, hand me the money. Anyways, I think this was a pretty successful all-sauce sandwich if I do say so myself. It was fully edible, it was actually a sandwich that I enjoy eating, and it was a user-suggested comment, which I think is really cool. So if you have any suggestions for menu items to make at Subway, or you have a Subway secret menu item recipe yourself, I need you to toss that in the comment section right now. Thank all of you beautiful human beings for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing and blessed rest of your day. Subscribe and peace. You guys got me to 2 million subscribers, so now I present to you the 2-foot everything sub. Now, I know a few months back, yo, I was like, I'm never making an everything sub anymore. But my audience, you guys seem to just love whenever I make these everything subs. And if I'm being honest, they're pretty fun to make too. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, Milad, you're wasting food. I can't believe you would do this. But there's either two outcomes to all of the everything sub videos we ever make. One, I either eat it in a challenge attempt, or two, I literally just pick apart the sandwich and make smaller sandwiches out of them for me and my family. But I sincerely thank every single one of you for subscribing to the channel and getting us to 2 million subscribers. It's crazy. I made this YouTube account back in September and really started going hard on it back in March. So in about 4 months time of really working at YouTube, we were able to get 2 million subscribers and 1 billion views. And I have nobody to thank besides all of you guys. Now I know all of you are definitely wondering, Milad, what is on the everything sub? Like what could possibly be going on to this monstrosity of a sandwich? And oh boy, let me explain to you every ingredient in full detail. We got meatballs, we got steak, we got chicken teriyaki, we got oven roasted chicken, we got chicken strips, we got buffalo chicken, salami, pepperoni, ham, turkey, falafel, American cheese, veggie patty, cold cut combo, pepper jack cheese, mozzarella cheese, cheddar cheese, tuna, bacon, Swiss cheese. Oh, and here's the vegetables: lettuce, tomato, onion, spinach, cucumber, green pepper, jalapenos, pickles, sweet peppers, banana peppers, and finally my least favorite, black olives. But wait, there's more. The sauces that went onto the sandwich are all oil, vinegar, mayo, savory Caesar, honey mustard, barbecue sauce, hot sauce, ranch, sweet onion, light mayonnaise, chipotle, Southwest, regular mayonnaise, and last but not least, avocado. And I made sure to toast the sandwich. I know a lot of you guys were telling me a couple times ago I didn't toast the sandwich, so I toasted the entire sandwich for you beautiful people. And I added some seasonings as well. We put on salt, pepper, oregano, and Parmesan cheese. Dude, this thing was a nightmare to wrap, I'm not gonna lie. This is definitely one of the messiest sandwiches I've ever made, but it was also a ton of fun to make this sandwich. I just can't wait to see where the rest of this channel goes. My community is just so amazing. Like, you guys, I literally owe everything to every single one of you watching this video. Like, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm so excited for the future with all of you. It's just so incredible to me what, like, you guys can all do. And honestly, if it doesn't entail Subway in the future, I'm sorry. But I'm gonna try to put out Subway content literally as much as humanly possible for you guys. But I also want to throw other things into the mix because I know a lot of you guys really enjoy the other food cooking videos. Anyways, thank you all for watching this video. If you want to see me eat this 2-foot everything sub, you really got to give me a reason why. Get like somebody to comment telling me to eat it. I don't know. Random user 64, if you're out there, tell me if you want me to eat the everything sub. Subscribe to the channel and have a beautiful and blessed day. Peace.
So the other day I was talking to a fellow lad and they were trying to convince me that the American dream is completely dead. Now, if you don't know what the American dream is, it's literally the notion that you could build from the ground up and create a life that you could never even imagine in other places in the world. And while some people might say that America is not the greatest place for equal opportunity and that it's actually the complete opposite, I believe that the American dream is one of the greatest things to ever surface with this country. But I will not disagree that there are other countries with better opportunities. I mean, I think that's a given. I think there are a lot of countries around the world that have their complete positives and a lot of countries around the world that have their complete negatives. But when it comes to America, I think there's a lot of balance in between. I'm going to take you guys way back to when my parents first moved to this country. Both of my parents fled the country of Iran during the fall of the Shah, which was basically a time where the entire country went under a little bit of chaos. They don't really report on it a lot in Western media and a lot of Western textbooks, but the fall of the Shah was basically the equivalent to an entire revolution in the country of Iran. And my parents literally left their country with nothing and took the chance and came to Ellis Island in America. Now, when they came to this country, my mom worked as a JCPenney cashier for about 10.5 years, and my dad worked as a construction worker. And to this day, my dad still does construction. He's a G. So is my mom. They're both G's. And they worked their way to save up enough money to buy their first Subway location. Now, it's crazy when I started to hear this story because it kind of ties full circle into everything. My parents came from a war-torn country that was quite literally like blowing itself up, and they came to this country with nothing and worked their way to build something for their kids and for themselves. And now, when we look back at the story, I think the craziest part is that I feel like I myself am kind of a resemblance of the American dream along with a lot of my friends. I went from literally making minimum wage Subway sandwiches every day for 5.5 years to building out a platform that I get to share and enjoy with millions of people from around the world. It's crazy how much that one thing could change your life, and I think America is one of the only places where you could take that risk and take that opportunity to do that one thing. Say what you will about the current socioeconomic state of this country. I mean, America has a lot of problems. problems. It has completely different problems from a lot of the places in the world. And a lot of the people do not enjoy the shape of this country right now or even ever. But I sincerely think that this is one of the only places in the world where you can come to this country and completely build yourself from the ground up into whatever your dream is. And I think that's what it means to have the American dream. I think just the ability to create something from nothing is so vital to any country. And I think a lot of people around the world don't have this opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of countries in the Middle East or even in Europe where certain things are very frowned upon, and they'll literally throw you in jail for something that in America is just a complete norm. And I think a lot of the world is getting to this point thanks to the help of the internet, where a lot of open-minded conversations and just social consciousness is coming to fruition. But at the same time, a lot of places are completely underdeveloped in comparison to the socioeconomic state of America. Whoa, those are some big vocab words. But if you really don't think that you could build anything from the ground up in America, no matter what your situation is, please look at me and my friend Dylan, for example. Dylan was a cold stone worker that was a manager for about 10 years time, and he grew to 10 million followers on TikTok and created this entire venture where he's gonna build his own ice cream shop in New York City in just a little bit over a year's time. And me, myself, I went from literally slinging Subway sandwiches every single day as a minimum wage fast food worker to everything that we're all building together now. It's simply incredible, and I just wanted to come on here and tell you guys, you could do anything that you put your mind to, and you don't even have to be in America. You could be anywhere in the world, but the dream of building something from nothing is not dead. In fact, it's more alive than ever with the internet. Thank you guys for watching this video. I love you. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on bell notifications. Peace and love, everybody.
So right now, Subway is being canceled online, and the reasoning behind it is actually kind of crazy. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of my perspective as a Subway worker. So the platform that Subway is getting quote-unquote canceled on is actually TikTok. Who would have guessed, am I right? But it all started with a woman who posted a video of herself defending herself off from a robber. Basically, in the video, you could see security cam footage of her pushing back at somebody trying to rob her store, which happens to be a Subway restaurant location. And she actually manages to push this dude so far back that he drops his gun and she picks it up, and she literally starts pistol whipping this man with his own gun. Now, the comments on this video were pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. It was basically everybody saying something along the lines of, "You go, sis, you showed that man who's boss," and like, "Yo, from the bottom of my heart, that was a pretty cool move." But if you're out there and somehow you ever end up getting robbed, please never fight back. It's probably one of the worst things that you could do. In this woman's scenario, she got extremely lucky, and it probably wasn't a real gun at all, but if it had been a real gun, or if somebody was actually deranged, they could really harm you if you ever try to fight back. So your best bet is to just give them whatever they want and let the cops do the rest afterward. But this woman essentially completely defended herself and completely defended a business which wasn't hers. So major props to this woman. But after a few days, she actually got fired from her job. This is her job at Subway, and let me tell you, there was some complete outrage. If you literally go to the Subway TikTok account or any of their social medias right now, it's being flooded with hate because of them deciding to fire this woman. So a little background, Subway franchises actually didn't have the power to fire her. Like, it wasn't like the company decided to fire her. It had to be something from an actual franchisee themselves. So whoever owned the store decided that they weren't okay with whatever happened, and so they had to get to the choice of firing this woman, which I think is completely wrong, if I'm being honest. Okay, sure, you shouldn't like give her a raise or be like, "Yo, you did the right thing," because she didn't do the right thing. You should never fight back against a robber. But to fire this woman and leave her with literally no job is such an absurd thing, even to me. Like, how are you gonna literally give the boot to somebody that just put their entire life on the line to defend your business? It doesn't make much sense at all. And yo, it's kind of shocking to me how Subway's being canceled for this and not something related to food for once. It's like Subway's just always in the hot seat, and I kind of feel bad, but like, I don't really know what you can do at this point. It's like they got a target on their back. Anyways, back to the topic of this video. A lot more people were very outraged with the fact that she was working alone in the store. Now, I have experience in this because I've worked alone quite a few times, and so have my coworkers. And with something like a Subway, which isn't busy, it's actually really hard to have more than one employee if you're at a certain storefront. Like, if you're in the middle of nowhere, it's really hard to have the money to hire 2 employees and be profitable at the same time. But if you're in something like a Walmart or like an airport or somewhere high traffic, it's a no-brainer. You should have 2 employees. So this is where the dilemma begins. What should the franchise owners do in this situation? It's literally either cough up the money to give 2 employees, but know that eventually you'll probably not be able to afford your business anymore, or it's to keep 1 employee, which is just as, if not more effective, but you put yourself at higher risk situations like this. Either way, it's a pretty big dilemma, and I think a lot of it has to do with Subway's food costs. I mean, compared to a lot of other fast food franchisees, the food cost at Subway compared to the profit you make is kind of ridiculous, and that's why $5 footlongs aren't even a thing anymore, and they haven't been for like 10 plus years. So Subway is in a sticky situation, to say the least. Comment below what you would have done if you were in that situation. I think I literally would have just given the money away, but who knows? Maybe you're built different. Subscribe and turn on bell notifications for a free cookie, and have a beautiful and blessed day. Peace! Yes, you read that title correctly. I am making 2 delicious sandwiches in Switzerland. I'm at an airport with a layover from Dubai over to the US. And I figured, hey, I'm in this lounge and I might as well just use the resources around me to make one delicious sandwich. The people of Switzerland were really nice to me too. And the people in Dubai were super nice as well. If you're wondering why I went to Dubai, it was basically my first vacation with my brothers outside of the country. Because of this whole YouTube thing, I've been blessed enough to be able to go on vacation more. And I know some of you guys are like, oh, he doesn't work at Subway anymore. But sometimes, you know, you just gotta grow. I don't know. Some of you expect me to work at Subway the rest of my life, which I just don't think is even possible. Think about my mental health. Anyways, on the way home from Switzerland, I really came up with some revelation in my mind. As much as I love to travel and as blessed as I am to be able to be in the position to travel, there's really no place like home. I was making this sandwich thinking to myself, I can't wait to be laying in my bed. Yo, it was 22 hours of travel time total just to get back in 22 hours to go to Dubai, which was insane. I mean, I never travel outside of the country and this was like absurdity to have to be in an airplane in a lounge for just that long. It's uncomfortable, but hey, they always say the best places to grow is in uncomfortness. I don't even know if uncomfortness is a word. I may have just made that up. Yo, by the way, I had Swiss cheese in Switzerland. That's some next level stuff, let me tell you. It was crazy. My whole experience with this traveling to Dubai taught me so much about the rest of the world and just how different it is from the US. I've never met more nice people in my life than on this vacation. And I've never had as culturally different food as this vacation. Well, that's kind of a lie. If I'm being honest, I had like McDonald's, Burger King. I had some terrible food. But I also went to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant in Dubai too. And I gotta just say, Gordon, if you're somehow listening to this, big disappointment. I literally thought the serving sizes were for ants. That just might be me being a fat American talking about this. But they were just such small dishes. And when I asked for a lemonade, yo, it was the worst lemonade I think I've ever had in my entire life. It was like completely carbonated. It tasted like seltzer water with just lemon sprinkled in. I'm a big lemonade guy, so I don't know. I got really offended by this. The rest of the meal was pretty good, but I don't know. Gordon, you gotta be on top of that. But the people were super nice. Anyways, after making these sandwiches, I just sat back and waited for my next flight in the beautiful land of Switzerland. And I've heard if you subscribe and like this video, you too will have a chance to be in Switzerland making your own sandwich. Milad, have you ever stole something? Him. So there's this one time. Okay, but wait. There actually was this one time that I kind of did steal something, but it was accidental. I never intended to steal. And I never intend to steal ever again. I learned my lesson. And the thing I stole was a beautiful young woman's heart who I call my girlfriend. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. That was kind of cringe. All right, anyways. Before I tell the story, only like 25% of you guys are subscribed, so it's that 75% that's not subscribed. Please consider subscribing. It's completely free and you can subscribe at any time and I'll love you and give you a free cookie. So there was this day that I was on shift at work and it was a very busy lunch rush. I'm talking like probably one of the busiest I've ever had. Line out the door and actually around the building. Well, not all the way around, but like there were a few people outside. And me and my one coworker were literally going to war with these sandwiches. It was just sandwich after sandwich after sandwich after sandwich. And it felt like it would just literally never end. Well, after about 2 hours, me and my coworker racked up about $60 in tips. Now, let me just put this into reference for you guys. $60 is an insane amount of tips. Like insane. The average lunch rush for a 2-hour shift, you'll get like $10 to $15. So a $60 tip in 2 hours is kind of crazy. And obviously me and my coworker were going to split this tip. Anyways, my shift ended at 2 o'clock and he was there until 4. And at the end of a shift, everybody always ends up splitting the tips and going home. Now, for some reason in my dumb mind, I went to go split the tips. So when I poured them out onto the counter, I got distracted by something and then I came back and just literally grabbed them and left. Well, my coworker was not happy about this at all, let me tell you. He realized that I did this probably like 2 hours later when he was leaving. It was like, where did all of my tips go? So originally he calls me and he goes, yo, I think somebody stole my tips. Like I had $30 in tips from the 60 that we made during the lunch rush and I just can't find it. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's tough, man. Like, what are you gonna do, right? Like as if I have nothing to do with this and I didn't just pull off the single greatest heist in existence at Subway. But after about 5 minutes, the realization had hit me. I was so excited about these tips. I mean, like $30 was so much and it still is a lot of money. And a young Milad was just thinking about how much food he could buy because a young Milad was very fat indeed. We're working on it. And so in that moment, I went to my backpack to grab the money out and I realized the look of horror on my face when I discovered that I had taken $60 and $30 was probably historic. I just couldn't believe that I stole this man's tip. And I was so embarrassed because I was just providing him like relief about how he didn't get any of the money that he made and somebody probably stole it. So I had an option in this moment. Do I potentially embarrass myself and return the $30 to the rightful citizen? Or do I just pretend as if this never happened happening. Just literally steal the money. And I took that money and I went and bought a $60 meal at a fancy restaurant. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I gave the coworker the money. And he was pretty happy because he was like, yo, I swore I thought somebody took it. So we gave it to the rightful owner in the end. Lesson of the day, don't steal. The Google reviews on my Subway store are completely outrageous, so let's read a few of them. Also, only like 25% of you guys are subscribed, so if you're part of that 75% that's not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It helps me out so much, and I'll give you a free cookie. This one comes from Pizza Time. He said, it was a rainy day, and I saw a good-looking Subway, and I desired a good sub. When I walking in, I saw a good-looking man at the front counter. Oh, good-looking, huh? Okay. I ordered my favorite sub, which is a meatball sub. When the good-looking guy made my sub, he made sure the bread was extra crispy. He then put the meatballs gently on the roll. Wait a sec. Okay, this might be a little weird. As I ate the sub, my teeth bit something hard. It was a good bar inside of my sandwich. I then took it out of my sandwich and gave it back to the young man behind the counter. He then gave me an iPhone 13. I will never forget that day from now on. Thank you, Milad. Yo, that was a little sus at the beginning, but I'm happy it had a wholesome ending. You know, anytime, Pizza Time, anytime. Our next one comes from Jay Zhang. The other day, I was getting chased by a bunch of extraterrestrial beings. Oh, this is already going to be good, I could tell. Who wanted to abduct me to their planet in the 5th solar system. When I came across this nice-looking Subway, I asked the good-looking young guy in the store whether I could take refugee for a while until the situation outside was a bit less hectic. Okay, I've been called good-looking 3 times already. I swear I did not mean for this to happen. I didn't even read any of these before I picked them. Comments are gonna be like, Cap, Milad just wants to boost the ego. Well, you know. He noticed the serious expression on my face and offered me a place to shelter in his Subway behind the counter next to the vegetables. On top of that, he gave me a free cookie, which I slaughtered like a cookie monster. I will be forever thankful for everything this young hero did at the time. I think his name was Milad or something. I am no hero. I'm simply just doing my job, young sir. Wow, some of you guys are really creative, I gotta say. Like, I couldn't come up with any of this stuff on my own. But thank goodness there's like 3,000 people that leave Google reviews on my Subway that can come up with this stuff for me. And our last Google review comes from Caden Bain. 200 likes. I could tell this is gonna be good. I was feeling incredibly hungry, so I decided to pick up a Subway sandwich. When I opened the door, I was greeted by a man with a small camera duct taped to his head. Yep, that's me. He dashed to the counter with superhuman speed and began making a sub before I even ordered. It was an amazing turkey sub with delicious crunchy Doritos sprinkled in. I was amazed, as if this sandwich had hypnotic power. He then handed me my sandwich and actually gave me a cookie for free. Definitely me. But this was no ordinary cookie. The moment I bit into it, I was instantly transported to a large room. There was a massive TV on the wall with the numbers 1,880,000 on it. I looked down and saw a new iPhone 12 sitting right next to me. I picked it up, being careful not to break it, and it turned on. I saw that I already had a message despite me not even having a chance to turn the phone on. It read, "What did you think of the sub, and were the Doritos too crunchy?" This is where I am now, in a room with a string of numbers on a screen and a brand new phone. Definitely the best food experience I've ever had. The sheer amount of creativity that had to go into this Google review, I applaud you all. Good work, lads. Okay, I don't think I've ever spoken about this publicly, but I've talked about it on like streams and like a little bit in the comment section before. But a huge staple of my channel and my brand used to be talking about the K word, and I'm gonna say it for this video, Karens. And just about every single time when somebody comes into my Subway or I just meet somebody and I ask them, what was your favorite video I've ever made? They'll always tell me that they really enjoy the Karen videos. And a few months ago, I actually made a video denouncing the use of the word Karen. And now I'm just tied up in this huge dilemma, and I really wanted to hear your guys' opinions in the comment section or however you can reach me about this whole thing. So it all begins back a few months ago. I'd say back in like March of 2020, and I made a video that was called Mother of All Karen. And a staple to my brand was kind of using the Karen name, just referring to rude customers that came in and did stuff that just wasn't against, like, it literally just wasn't nice to the fast food minimum wage workers that were working, including myself. So I made this video, and there was such an uproar of positivity, and people were so committed to my channel, and people just loved, like, the fact that somebody was standing up for these fast food workers, which is me, which I didn't even realize at the time. I was just telling stories from my life, and I thought that maybe they'd just be interesting and funny, but people were like, Milad, you're actually one of the first people that spoke up against these rude customers that come in and treat us like dogs. And I just always used the word Karen because that was like a meme on the internet for the longest time. It just came natural to me. And then one day I got a DM from somebody, I'm pretty sure it was on Instagram, and they said something along the lines of like, Milad, I love your videos, I love everything that you do, and you spread such a positive message, but my name is Karen, and you don't understand the actual backlash that we've gotten for having our names as being Karen. She said that she was afraid to ever use her name in public, and how this was like a thing that nobody realizes, but she just hates when people call her Karen. She like became a non-fan of her own name, and this message actually like touched me, and I was like, wow, I never knew how much using a single word word could affect somebody else so negatively. To me, this whole time, I thought it was just a name, and I thought it was just a meme, like something funny that people will just use. But this message made me make a video that was like, I'm never using the K word, aka Karen, again in my entire life. And a lot of people supported it. A lot of people were like, Milad, just do whatever you want. Like, don't let like one person just kind of infiltrate the entirety of what you've built. Because at the end of the day, Karen is like just a name. It could be like any other name. Like, I could have used Milad. I could use Kevin. I could use like a male Karen. I don't know. It was just like a universally recognizable name for a certain type of customer that comes into the store. And then a few months later, I actually got a same DM from this person. And it was something along the lines of like, you're an idiot. My name's not actually Karen, LMAO. I can't believe you made that video. And I was like, I will never trust anybody on the internet ever again because of this. But to this day, I have customers come in that tell me, yo, they're a big fan of the videos and their favorite videos I've ever made were the videos about Karen. So this leaves me in a dilemma. This person literally just messed with my entire brand for a meme. And I'm surprised they didn't like post it anywhere. Maybe they did and I just don't know about it. But I thought some of the most fun videos I've ever made were the Karen videos. So I have two questions for my audience. One, is there another word that's like as universally recognizable as Karen that we could just use in place of it just in case? And two, should I just not care and start using the word Karen again? Or should I use my own name, Milad? Like, I don't know. If I'm being honest, it's a pretty Karen thing to do for a person named Karen to actually like send me a message talking about how I shouldn't be using their name. It's like poetry writes itself. And then the fact that the person's name actually wasn't even Karen, like I don't know what to do. So I'm leaving this to my audience. In the comment section, I need you to represent whatever your side is. Do I use the infamous K word or do I not use it? This is such a dilemma for me. I trust you lads. You got this and let me know. Also, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Peace.